right, y'all. Welcome back and happy Wednesday. We've been breaking down Tennessee versus Arkansas over the course of the week. And this is a matchup between two very good offenses versus two defenses that haven't played at their best. So for Arkansas's defense, it's a veteran-led group. They're going to have a new defensive coordinator coming in. We talked some about that yesterday. But they're very, very talented, right? Like their numbers don't show it, but they are talented. Like we took a look at the roster breakdown for Tennessee's offense versus Arkansas's defense, and their talent level is pretty close to our offense. So the talent's there. With a new DC, will the defense look even better, right? Will it look significantly better? That's possible, and that could be a challenge for this offense, obviously, just not knowing exactly what the structure will look like for their defense. But for Tennessee's defense, we've been banged up with our vets to start the year off, so the young guys have had to step up, and I think from week to week, they've grown exponentially. So now what we have, right, because some of those veterans are coming back, we have a much deeper defense, and we're playing at home versus the team that we lost to on the road last season. I think that everyone's going to be fired up. So hopefully Nealon plays a factor in this game. I think that they'll need to, because this will probably be our toughest test, just like with our defense versus any offense that we've seen so far. Matter of fact, I'm not even going to say probably. It's definitely going to be – this offense is really good, okay? Like their scheme is great, passing-wise, running the football. Then they have veterans on offense too. They run the system very, very well. So, and then I think some of their strengths and some of our weaknesses, our defense hasn't looked great, but a lot of that stuff is going to be fixable. So how different does it look coming out of this bye week with more players being added to our depth chart? But today, I'm just going to be sharing my keys to victory for our Tennessee Volunteers and a game prediction later on tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be going live for the midweek chat. Ruck from Straight Up Tennessee, who has an excellent channel, very passionate about our Tennessee Volunteers, loves the Vols. Go and check him out. He's going to be joining us, just like sharing his thoughts. And then hopefully Timmy G and J-Pack can also join us to share their thoughts. But we really want to hear y'all's thoughts. So we hope that y'all will join us and add to the conversation. We'll be taking a look at the injuries and all that for this game and then for some of the other SEC games and just breaking things down even more. But with all that being said, y'all please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. We switched the format up some this week, but let's go on ahead and get into my keys to victory for our Tennessee Volunteers. So key number one, set the edge. I mean, it's something that, we talked, Tennessee has not done a good job of it, and Arkansas is really good at it. So 57% of Arkansas's plays are outside runs. It's runs to the edge. 40 of those runs went to the left side. 28 of those runs went to the right side. Tennessee has given up 5 rushing touchdowns to our left edge. That's more than any other area on this team. And we've given up 2 rushing touchdowns to our right edge. That's second most. So obviously, we're not doing a good job there. Styles make fights. Again, they're strong where Tennessee's kind of weak at. I think that we'll have some answers with this bye week, like fundamental stuff. We should be able to be better at it, but it might not look like it just because this might be the best edge rushing team in the entire country. Their scheme is tough to stop because they run a lot of read option. Like most of those plays to the edge, it comes from this read option. So I think we have to dictate terms here. That's key number 2 for me. They've run the read option 64 times. That's 43, almost 44% of their runs. 521 yards, over 8 yards per carry, 4 rushing touchdowns, 25 first downs, and they're averaging 4.8 yards before contact. Now, we broke this down for our members and showed them how this looks. They run this read option beautifully. It actually makes me think about Colin Kaepernick back in the day with that read option, how unstoppable that was. Looks very, very similar with the quarterback that's even bigger, even faster, might even be a better thrower, all that type of stuff. So if it's me personally, like what I would do, is I would just have our defensive end maybe just hit the quarterback. I know that that's not fundamentally sound, but the reason that I'm saying it is because every single time that they've run this, went back and watched it, they're leaving, typically is going to be that defensive end. They leave them unblocked. So what that means is they can dedicate more numbers to block less people. But that defensive end or that edge player, could be a linebacker, could be a safety, could be a star or a corner, whatever. That player that they're reading, that they leave unblocked, has not made a play at all on this read option, whether it's handed off on the dive or whether it's quarterback keeping it, going to the outside. They have not made a play a single solitary time. Can Tennessee get our edge players to actually make a play here just by saying, look, we're going to take out somebody, and it's typically going to have to be that quarterback. Keep on hitting him. Maybe they'll stop running it because they're really good at it. This is most of their offense. This is one of the biggest keys to this game. I think that we need to try to do something like that because then we don't have as many people just kind of like standing around watching and freezing while Arkansas, has people moving and getting down the field. They can also throw out of this look. So very, very tough to stop, which takes us to key number 3, which is to tackle well. Obviously, all the stuff that we just talked about with setting the edge and, trying to like dictate turns with their read option doesn't matter if you can't tackle at the moment of truth. So we had to do that. Now, Arkansas is averaging 3.4 yards after contact, which is number 4 in the SEC. And Tennessee, we have 60 missed tackles, which is the second most in the SEC. But if you look at it from this standpoint of like what's the actual rate, Tennessee's actually at 13%. That's 8th. in the SEC. So it's not great. It's middle of the road, but it's a lot better than being second to last, or just second period, which takes me to this next point, key number 4. We need to control the ball, control the clock, because our defense is on the field way too much. 405 snaps on defense. That's second most in the SEC. And our offense is dead last in time of possession in the entire country. It's typically like that just because we know Tennessee likes to run the tempo. But there's other teams like Mississippi State, Ole Miss. They're not that far down. So we can do a better job of keeping our defense off the field by holding on to the football more. And I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into these stats and show y'all some things from PFF and how all this looks. So what we're going to be talking about are just like the plays per game and all that type of stuff. So everything's organized based off the plays per game. Tennessee's number 2 here in the SEC with about 79 plays per game. I'm going to scroll down and show you where some of the other teams are at. So Arkansas, they're right here. They're averaging about 69 plays per game, so very close to 70 plays per game. Now, drives per game. Let's take a look at this real quick and talk about how the differences stack up here. So Tennessee is number 2, right? So 13 drives per game. And then you can see that Arkansas, they're right here with about 11 drives per game. Now, plays per drive. All right, we're only going to look at, just a couple more of these. All right, trust me. So Tennessee sitting at number 8 right here. So we're averaging about 6 plays per drive. A lot of that is going to be because we're scoring pretty quickly. We've gotten very pass happy. We're not running the football, I think, as much as we could. Not nearly as much as we did last year, but I think it's for different reasons. We kind of had to run the football more because of the defensive structure, so on and so forth. We've covered it several times. But I think that we need to try to balance things out just a little bit more, have some longer drives. Obviously, we can move up on this list. That will be very, very positive. Now, Arkansas is up here at number 6. So, 6.2 plays per drive. So we're both at about 6 plays per drive. It's kind of like splitting hairs with some of these numbers, but that's what football is. Very small margin for error. Now, let's take a look at the score percent. Okay, we'll take a look at the score percent and then the touchdown percent. Then we'll move on. So Tennessee's number 5 right here. We're scoring at about 57% of the time. Arkansas is right up under us at number 6. Now, the interesting thing, from 5 to 6, it's the biggest gap, right? So it's about a 7% difference. If you go from 1 to 2, it's not that big of a gap. 2 to 3, not that big of a gap. 3 to 4, so on and so forth. That's the biggest gap. Goes back to my point. If we can try to keep their offense off the field because they're really good, okay, if we can try to keep them off the field, limit the times that they go out there, because understand the way that Tennessee's defense is playing right now, or just like how many snaps that they're seeing, Arkansas is probably going to see more offensive snaps. So it'll be necessary for us to try to slow that down because they're already scoring at a high enough clip versus like regular offenses. Yes, Ole Miss, similar style. They run the tempo, but they're not as fast, obviously, as Tennessee is. So last thing, y'all, touchdown percent. All right, we'll take a look at this, and then we're going to move on. So Tennessee is at number 4 right here, about 45%, right? So on about 45% of our plays, or on about 45% of our drives, we are scoring touchdowns. That's pretty good. Arkansas is right up under us here at about 43%. So that's going to take us to my next point, or to my next key. All right. And that is that field goals lose games. This is just the way that I look at it. I don't trust our field goal kicker. I want for us to still score. So let's not sacrifice holding on to the football longer for us scoring touchdowns. Once we get over the 50, we still need to be taking those shots, okay? But if we start on the other side of our 50, then, slow it down. Like, let's try to make these drives a little bit longer. Keep our defense off the field. Keep their offense off the field. I think that that's definitely necessary in this game, and it's probably going to be necessary moving forward as well. So, key number 6, the ball is gold. We talk about this every single week. It's going to be higher or lower on this list. This week, we have it as second to last key. But we have 2 offenses that aren't doing a great job of taking care of the football. Then we have 2 defenses that's doing a pretty good job of taking away the football. So with, 4 or 5 of Joey Aguilar's interceptions, it wasn't on him. So can we just catch the ball? Can we try to keep the football out of like harm's reach? You know what I'm saying? Like, that would be huge. Obviously, you got to hold on to it, so on and so forth. Just take freaking care of the ball on offense. We do not want to give them any extra opportunities on offense, right? Like, we definitely don't want to do that. That's a huge part of this game. So I think that our defense, though, has done a great job of being opportunistic and getting those turnovers and also scoring off of them. We got to keep on doing that. This is a game that I think with a few key stops, with a few key turnovers, Tennessee should be able to win. All right, so that's going to be huge. Now, last key, very simple. Nealon. All right, Nealon's got to be a major factor in this game. Versus Georgia, I don't think that it was nearly as good as it could have been. And Cal brought up an excellent point. She said that, we had college game day there. The student section was really tired. Some of the other fans were really tired. We can't have that for the rest of this year. All right, so like I watched the film, and typically in these bigger games, the screen is shaking. Like the camera is shaking because Nealon's literally rocking. That's what we need. because this is an offense that pre-snap, they're going to come up to the line of scrimmage, and it's just like automatically built into their system. Whatever defensive structure Tennessee shows, they're going to have beaters for it. So it's going to help us out if they can't talk to one another, all right, whether they're on the field, especially when they're on the field, but also like whenever they're on the sidelines coming onto the field. That's when we need to be at our absolute loudest. We have to impact this game. Neyland should be good for 5 or 6 pre-snap penalties off the rip. We're going to need that, okay? I promise y'all that's something that Tennessee is going to need. So that's my keys for this game. Now let's get into how I see the stats playing out, and I'll tell you how I think this game is going to end up playing out. So number one, for Tennessee, I talked about it. I think that we will try to be a little bit more run heavy. So I have us running the football 41 times and throwing it 32 times. I have Joey Aguilar having a really nice game, 20 of 32, 62.5%, which I think is about his season average, 298, almost 300 yards passing. I do have him throwing 1 interception. It's probably not going to be his fault, okay? And also have him getting sacked 1 time. Now, understand this, okay, that their defense, like I said, they've got some talented players. They have a good front. Our offensive line should be better with David Sanders out there. You know, we talked about it. We have Jesse Perry and Sam Pendleton, both with ankle sprains. Hopefully they're going to be fine. But Sham Umrah, if he can come in and maybe spell us at guard, but also William Satterwhite, he can spell us at center. So that's a positive thing. We can mix and match. We have a much better offensive line than what we had versus Arkansas last season. So I think that we'll be fine. And Joey Aguilar does a really good job of getting out of sacks. I just think that this 1 sack might come off of a cornerback blitz. It's something that, Arkansas has done. I think that they'll probably keep on trying to do it, even with the new defensive coordinator. And also, how does it look? Is it going to be more man-to-man like what we talked about yesterday? If it is, I think that we'll find a lot of success down the field. I also feel like they're going to be blitzing at about 40% or more, which is a lot. I think that we'll be able to pick those blitzes up well, but I think that we'll be fine. I think that we'll have the answers for all that type of stuff because now we do have those answers with our offensive scheme. So I think that Joey has a good game. I think that our wide receivers have a good game. I'm not quite sure about the tight ends. They might have a good game catching the football, but I just think that Arkansas's linebackers match up pretty well in coverage versus our tight ends. Can we scheme them open? No, I think that that's very possible. So going on to our rushing, like I said, 41 carries for 200 yards, 4.8 yards per carry. I think that our rushing game takes that step forward, not just because we stick to it more, but because I've seen us working on it week to week. So we've run more outside zone this season than previously. And for me, whenever I talk about outside zone, I'm talking about a play that is designed to get to the outside, basically, right? So stretch plays for me, that's a play that you aim to the outside, but there's cutback lanes. Some people call it the opposite thing. I want us to run more stretch plays. I hope that it's something that we've been working on because it would work beautifully versus this defense, especially if it's more pro style. You see the pro teams running stretch plays all the time. You need those cutback lanes. With outside zone, the way that I'm calling the outside zone, you don't really have that option. But I think that our running backs, it fits their skill set well. I think it fits our offensive line well. So I'm hoping that we implement that. That's one of the big things, like the big steps forward that I think that we could take with this offense that's already playing very, very well. But yeah, I think that we'll see. We might not rotate as often. It might just be 2 backs. So maybe Star, Thomas, and Bishop will probably get the bulk of the carries. Who knows? But I still love Peyton Lewis. I want to see him get his carries. He had a good game, versus Arkansas last season. So if you can get him out there, why not? And let's just try to keep our guys fresh. Now, as far as Tennessee's defense, I have us getting 4 sacks. Really good offensive line for Arkansas, but we have a great pass rush. I think that we can win on the edges. I think that we'll be able to win inside now because we have all of our defensive tackles back. I'm very much looking forward to Hobbs and Jackson Moy being back for the second week. So being maybe fresher or being in better shape, and then they'll have less snaps, so they should be fresher over the course of the game. That should be huge. Again, Neyland play a factor. All those things. And then maybe some blitzes. Maybe we'll dial up some different blitzes. I want to say that Colton Hood might have a sack on a cornerback blitz. I love the cornerback blitz. I think that you need to try to run that at least every other game, if not every game. So I do have us forcing some turnovers, again, in timely and costly situations for Arkansas. That's what we need to do. Just be opportunistic in the biggest moments. Get a few key stops, okay? Get a few key turnovers. I think Tennessee wins this one, maybe pretty big. So for Arkansas's offense, all right, I've got them being pretty balanced, right? So one of the things about Bobby P is previously he would get very pass happy. This season, he's sticking to the run a lot more. I think that might be part of his game plan because he knows, hey, man, that offense is really good. Our defense ain't that good. So maybe like some similar thoughts there for Tennessee and for Arkansas. Try to keep the other offense off the field. But I've got Taylor Green going 17 of 34. That's 50% for 289 yards. So for the past couple of games, he's been right at about 53%. I think that Neyland and, our young guys stepping up, getting some veterans back, defense having a good beat on what they want to do, I think that might mess with him and take his numbers down just a taste, but they're still going to get theirs. It's too tough of an offensive scheme to stop, passing wise, running the football wise, all that. And then they've got some good playmakers on the outside. Not going to be the most talented unit that we've seen from that standpoint, but with their system, with the way that they operated, it's still, probably equally as deadly, because like Georgia, they've got guys that are, really, really good, but I mean, their scheme sucks. So it's just a little bit of a different thing, right? So as far as their rushing, I have them going 33 carries for 210 yards, 6.3 yards per carry. I'm hoping that the numbers for Tennessee looks a little bit better than that, but I just think that they're so strong at where we've been so weak at. Tough for me to see it going well. Now, Tennessee did a great job versus Telling Green's legs last year. Maybe we'll do the same thing this season and maybe like limit some of what they like to do, force their running backs to carry the football, but their running backs are good too. One's 230, the other one's 240. So big guys, we got to be able to tackle, so on and so forth. Last thing, man, for their defense, I had them getting one sack, we already talked about that, and that one interception. So this is a game that I do have Tennessee winning, and I'll talk about my score coming up on Saturday. But that's it for me, man. Please share y'all's thoughts down in that comment section, and we hope that we can see y'all tonight for our midweek chat, again, at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Ruck from Straight Up Tennessee is going to be joining us. Make sure to go check his channel out. Make sure to like and subscribe to this one, and we'll be talking to y'all tonight. Thanks, peace. Thanks for watching, and please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, because that keeps us growing inside of the YouTube algorithm. And if you did like this video, here's another one that you might also enjoy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.